Hello, 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 hello. This is Tales of the Unknown, and I'm here with another reaction. This one is from Hive Comics. It is called The Rivalry DC Wants You to Forget. Now, in a previous video that I uploaded, it was about Nightwing being better than Batman, how he could beat him, and I, for one, absolutely believe that. I know that a lot of Batman fans will keep saying a whole bunch of crap, but you know what? That's the other video. This is another video, but it does involve Nightwing. This one has to do with the rivalry between Nightwing and Deathstroke. I think for me, this is the most slept on rivalry, and not just DC, but in all comics. I just feel like there's so much history between these two and so much hate, especially from Deathstroke's side, that I don't see how it's just so easily slept on. But it is. Because then Deathstroke gets moved to after Batman Arkham Origins, the video game. Everyone was like, "Oh crap, Batman versus Deathstroke. That's like a god tier fight." And to me, it's an A tier for sure. But to me, it doesn't hold the same weight as a Nightwing Deathstroke, because not only is it a professional matter, it is a very, very personal matter between Nightwing and Deathstroke. Because hell, it's not even like these. It started when, these guys were two grown men. Deathstroke was a grown ass man, but Robin was like 17, 18 years old when this rivalry started. And in some iterations, they moved it to like when he was like, what, 15, 16? Before the whole terror thing, in some iterations. But this right here is a rivalry DC, I have said this before, it needs to capitalize on. To me, if I was to put it though, in terms of rivalry where it stacks up, I think it's number 2 in DC. If I'm being for real. If I am being for real, I think it's number 2. I think number 1 is obviously Flash and Reverse Flash, because the level of pettiness from Reverse Flash is out of this world, and how much he hates Barry, and how much he hates the Flash in general. So I can never say that that's not the number 1 rivalry. But second, number 2 is Nightwing and Deathstroke. I just feel like, and it's not just because it's the rivalry, as I said, not just a business or professional one, it is also a personal one. So beyond the mask, this is also a battle between Slade Wilson and Dick Grayson. For those of you who don't read comics and don't know, but y'all watch this channel, Slade Wilson is Deathstroke, Dick Grayson is Nightwing, the OG Boy Wonder, the Robin. So I want to see what this video is about. I'm gonna stop rambling and get right to it. So let's go ahead and jump into this unknown. I'm ready for it. Whew. All right, here we go.
There's a lot of great rivalries in comics. Batman versus the Joker, Daredevil versus Bullseye, Superman versus Lex Luthor. But none of them have been as looked over as Nightwing versus Deathstroke. Ever since Slade appeared...
None of them have ever been looked over? No. Those rivalries have not been... I'm already saying it. Just a few seconds. These rivalries have not been overlooked. Maybe Deathstroke and Daredevil may be in this Deathstroke and Bullseye and Daredevil have been overlooked, because Daredevil's not as, I guess, in the top tier as, like, he's in the same position to me, I feel like, as Nightwing, because he's not one of the main guys in Marvel, like Spider-Man, Wolverine, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor now. Well, Some would argue Thor's not, but not anymore at least. But in DC, it's like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash sometimes. But yeah. So off the bat, let's go.
In Arkham Origins, it feels like DC has completely forgot about him being a Nightwing villain
Yes,
and pushed him primarily
facts.
as a Batman foe. To me, this is so crazy because the best adaptation of Slade focuses so
Thank
much of
you.
his torment of Grayson. But ever since Teen Titans ended,
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Again, I'm stopping the video. See, that's the only best iteration that they've had was that for those of you who watch the Teen Titans TV show, Robin versus Deathstroke versus, well, they didn't use Deathstroke because it was the kids or whatever, parents would have freaked out saying they use Death. Slade is, God, it was so good. It really did to me carry the show. It carried the show. The best years was when it was Robin versus Slade. Let's be for real. Yeah. And then they had the Teen Titans one, and I felt like that one was pretty good. I just felt like they messed up the landing at the very end. Titans to me was had so much potential. They just left so much meat on the bone, and oh my God, I'm talking about it right now. Okay, let's just get into it. That's a story for another time.
it feels like we haven't gotten a good look of what makes these two such perfect rivals. We are the Hive Mind, and today we're going to break down how it started, how it evolved, and why Nightwing and Deathstroke is one of the most underrated but consistently peak rivalries in the DC universe. The rivalry between Nightwing and Deathstroke doesn't start with Nightwing. It starts with Robin when he's still a Teen Titan. Back in the new Teen Titans #2, the team goes against one of their deadliest enemies yet, Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke. Slade wasn't after money or world domination. He was after revenge because just one issue earlier, his son, Grant Wilson, made a deal with Hive to take out the Titans. They gave him powers, turned him into a villain known as Ravager, and sent him after the team. But the power was...
See, right there and then, a little bit more, he wanted the same powers as Deathstroke, because he looked up to Deathstroke. But the thing was, his young body could not handle that shit. Could not handle that kind of power that the OG Deathstroke had. And so when he was fighting the Titans, he was expending that, and all that energy killed him. So it's not like the Titans had a kill shot or they killed him or anything. It was the fact that he was after them, and he died due to his own BS and because of Hive. And so instead of making it going after Hive and them, Slade's like, nah, I'm taking my frustrations on these teenagers.
Unstable. The mission failed and Grant died. Not at the hands of the Titans, but because of what had been done to them. But Slade doesn't blame Hive. He doesn't blame himself for letting his son go down that path. He blames the Titans, and more than anyone else, he blames Robin. Robin is everything that Grant wasn't, and Slade sees him as the reason his son died, the symbol of everything that Grant could never live up to. That hatred becomes personal and irrational. Slade loses a son and chooses to make a new enemy. What makes the dynamic so compelling is that it's rooted in projection. Slade refuses to take accountability for what happened to his son. Meanwhile, Robin, and later Nightwing, is defined by his overwhelming sense of responsibility. Every mistake, every teammate hurt, every mission gone wrong, he puts it all on himself. Their rivalry is born in the way that they mirror and challenge each other's deepest flaws.
This encounter immediately starts off with Nightwing getting jumped by Slade in his home, where he's completely outclassed. Nightwing even admits that Slade is both stronger and fast. Understanding he can't win this fight, Nightwing tricks Slade into knocking him out of the window, allowing him to cleanly escape. When it comes to scaling between the two, in this era, Slade was clearly above.
Yeah.
Years after that first clash, the war between Dick Grayson and Slade Wilson continues, but it's no longer Robin that Deathstroke is facing. It's Nightwing. We pick up in the new Teen Titans #86. Okay. Slade's other son, Jericho,
so they skipped over something. Okay, I'm pausing to skip. So, at that time, Dick had quit being Robin. There's always iterations of whether he quit being Robin or he was fired from being Robin because he spent too much time with the Teen Titans. And the reason he quit was because, if you go by that iteration, was because he just didn't feel like Robin anymore. and he just tried to find himself. And so when Deathstroke jumped him, is when Deathstroke found out every one of their names and went after them in personal matter and got all the Teen Titans. But the trickier one was Dick Grayson. He, out of all the superpowered ones, he could not get Dick Grayson. Why? Because Dick Grayson got intellect. He was that guy. But he was not stronger and he was not faster than Deathstroke. So he had to outwit him, which he did. He was able to escape and therefore teamed up with another one of Deathstroke's kids called Jericho, who went up against his father, did not believe anything that his father did. And so basically, as that time, he couldn't be Robin anymore. He became the new superhero, Nightwing. It was like, Nightwing! But that was it. I mean, they never said necessarily where he got the name from, but later on in the comics, when they did Nightwing flashbacks, they showed that he talked to Superman, and Superman gave him the inspiration behind Nightwing, as the Nightwing was not originally by Dick Grayson. It was actually from a Kryptonian hero of Kandor, Superman's hometown, named Nightwing. The guy was named Nightwing, and he was patrolling the city. He was the name was supposed to be of rebirth, like new beginnings, and so Dick took that on, and that's how basically the story of Nightwing became. And so anyways, Nightwing came there with Jericho. They whooped everybody's ass, and he saved his friend, saved his girlfriend Starfire, his one true pairing, his one true paramour. I don't give a damn. Fuck Babs. No, but seriously, Barbara Gordon she ain't shit for him. I'm sorry. It's just, that it irritates me. It just irritates me so much. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna stop. But anyways, that's what happened. Nightwing became Dick Grayson became Nightwing as he was trying to find himself, and ends up becoming that through some tough times and saving his friends. And that's how he adopts the name Nightwing. And then come to blows, he takes down Deathstroke. He takes down a lot of... It was crazy.
Become a beloved member of the Titans, had been possessed by the spirits of Azeroth and turned against them. When the time came to stop him, it was up to Slade Wilson, who killed his own son. And yet, even after doing the unthinkable, Slade still doesn't take personal responsibility. Because when he approaches Nightwing at the rubble that used to be Titan's Tower, he doesn't blame himself the way Nightwing does. He copes. He states that he was freeing Jericho. Slade is drowning in grief, but refuses to confront the truth, that he's the common denominator in both of his sons' deaths.
Mourning the death of Jericho, Nightwing takes his anger out on Slade. This, of course, is because Nightwing is angry that Slade had taken out his own son. Angered at how Slade is so emotionless to the death of his son, Nightwing attacks Deathstroke, all for Slade to just eat the aggression, which is effectively just Slade letting Nightwing blow off some steam. When Slade fights back, he sends Grayson flying back, showing he is still the superior combatant at this time. In their next encounter, Nightwing would attempt to take Slade in with reason. However, Slade isn't having it. Deathstroke fights back and easily takes down Nightwing, even after Grayson acknowledges Deathstroke won't come in quietly. Only needing 2 attacks to severely injure Nightwing, Slade left the victor of this fight, leaving Nightwing in no condition to continue fighting, showing how in this era, Slade is still the superior combatant.
At Spectrum, we believe every day unlocks unlimited possibilities. Spectrum transforms your gaming experience into a galaxy of adventures.
By the time we get to night...
Okay, see, but right here, I'm going to say this about this. One thing about... They had the most perfect casting. This show had the most perfect casting. If they had God tier writing, this would have been the GOAT shows of all time. I swear to God. It would have rivaled Smallville. All you needed was GOAT writing, and they had none of it. None of it. 1 and 2 were pretty good. 2 kind of fell off. 3 was so messy, and 4 was just okay. Like I said, man. But this dude right here, as Nightwing Brenton Thwaites, he was perfection.
Nightwing number 18, the rivalry between Dick Grayson and Deathstroke
And also,
is evolved.
Starfire Corianders, who was played by Anna Diop, or Diop, however you want to say her last name, she was fire as well. And she had to overcome so much more than anybody else I felt on that whole show. And y'all know why.
Into something deeper, something way more personal. At this point in his journey, Dick has left Gotham. He's moved to Bloodhaven to finally prove that he can be something outside of Batman's shadow. But Bruce's shadow can't be escaped that easily. Just 2 issues earlier, Dick gets hit with fear toxin during an encounter with the Scarecrow, and it drags every insecurity he's had buried straight to the surface. It makes him feel like he's not strong enough, that he'll never live up to Bruce, that he's just a sidekick playing dress-up in a new city. Deep down, he personally believes them. So when Deathstroke shows up, it's the fear given form. Everything Dick is trying to outrun, his past, his failures, his imposter syndrome, walks into Bloodhaven. Which is like how Nightwing eventually overcame the fear toxin, he overcomes Deathstroke. In this moment, Nightwing takes down the physical manifestation of every doubt, every fear, every voice that told him that he was second best. So it's him conquering those fears and truly escaping Batman's shadow.
Nightwing would be forced to fight Deathstroke while trying to free Man-Bat from captivity. Having lost every encounter in the past, Nightwing acknowledges the power of Deathstroke's metahuman abilities, which grant Slade the ability to kill Nightwing without breaking a sweat. This, of course, is in reference to how Slade's metahuman strength can kill Nightwing with very little physical effort. However, with this newfound confidence, after facing his fears of inadequacy due to Scarecrow's fear toxin, Nightwing refuses to give up without a fight, showing that regardless of Slade's metahuman abilities giving him the physical advantage, Nightwing's skill and agility gives him the edge on his superpower nemesis, showing that by this point in time, Nightwing has surpassed the mercenary and is now the superior combatant. The next...
That's beautiful, and I love the music behind it. I love the music behind it. But, like I said, dude, confidence is everything. In life, confidence is everything. For me, I will admit I've had low confidence, but I like to say over the years, when I'm looking back now, my confidence compared to what I was back then is at all-time high, for sure. And that's saying something for me. So I'm very happy about that. But like I said, confidence is everything, and it will get you through so much.
Time the two
as long as you're not
paths,
overconfident.
Deathstroke off-guards Nightwing, which leaves Dick in a vulnerable position where Slade can abuse his physical superiority and hold Nightwing down. When Grayson's partner arrives on the scene, he only gets in the way, which results in Nightwing being shot trying to protect him, which directly bleeds into their next encounter only issues later, where Bloodhaven's police captain would be targeted by Deathstroke. Nightwing steps in to defend her, while still being injured from his last encounter with Slade. Nightwing is physically disadvantaged as Slade immediately targets his compromised shoulder. Nightwing is further disadvantaged as he is focused more on Amy's safety than this fight, going as far as noting optimal strategies for fighting Slade and the weaknesses in his own actions. Yet knowing this, Nightwing ignores these to prioritize his captain's safety, meaning under normal circumstances where Amy isn't present, Deathstroke would not have been able to defeat Nightwing the way that he did in this battle.
Yes. it's because see, that's the thing. When it comes down to the villains, all they care about necessarily, more times than not, is beating the superhero. But for a superhero, it's about protecting the people that may get caught in the crossfire, more so than it is about fighting them. So when Amy Robach got into this, it just really put Dick at such a disadvantage.
Therefore, at this point in time, Nightwing is still the superior.
Game of Thrones King's Road is now available on both PC and mobile with Google Play Games.
If Nightwing number 18 was about proving who Nightwing is, then Nightwing number 117 is about proving who he refuses to become. At this point in time...
117. I'm gonna say this. Why, if y'all probably heard that car revving, why does everybody want to drive like they're in Fast and the Furious? Come on, you guys. Chill. So many wrecks happen because everyone wants to be in it. Everyone's got that pedal to the metal mentality, and it's not even like that. Come on now. Everybody's just trying to get home. Chill.
Bloodhaven is in ruins.
117.
Slade dropped Temo, a literal living nuke on the city, killing hundreds of thousands of people. And Slade doesn't lose any sleep over it. In his mind, it was a message and a power move. To add even more salt on the wound, this happens at the end of the Renegade arc, a period where Dick pretends to work with Deathstroke. He trains Slade's daughter, Rose, and he walks the line between hero and villain. After the bombing of Bloodhaven, Dick ambushes Slade at his hideout and reveals to Rose the harm that's being done to her by being around Slade. Together they escape, but before they do, Nightwing leaves a note telling Slade that he'll be back for him. This fight illustrates how Nightwing builds...
Nah, see, that's it. Now, you see, see, when you drop a bomb on my city and you kill thousands of people, nah, bruh. And this is what leads to Dick going to Rose and being like, nah, look what he's doing to you. And she breaks away from him and joins the Teen Titans. Although I don't think Dick is part of the Teen Titans as much anymore. But she always looks at Dick Grayson as a mentor. So, again, another one of Slade's kids, minus the first one that tried to kill him, chose Dick over... Pause. Chose Grayson. For those of you who can't get your mind out of the gutter. Chose Grayson over their own dad.
The people up around it, while Slade can only tear things down.
For the fourth time that these two fight within the same Nightwing run, and in this encounter, Nightwing would still be recovering from a chemical bomb dropped on him by Slade within this story arc. Despite this, Nightwing still shows to be dancing around Slade with very little effort, showing how when he's able to use his agility and keep his distance, he is still better than Slade even without trying very hard. This next encounter is a little different, seeing as Nightwing has the Titans with him during this fight. However, this fight is still enough to be noteworthy. Nightwing alongside the Titans engage Slade in a group setting, so Slade and Nightwing never get a chance to truly settle the personal vendetta they have with each other, so deriving scaling is kind of hard. The only time that they fairly engage each other, Deathstroke lands one attack on Nightwing. However, he does so specifically by distracting Nightwing. Therefore, it's not really a testimony to his skill. However, if you want to say it is, it doesn't really change much because this would just show relativity, not really enough to say Slade is superior. So, due to previous scaling, Nightwing is still the superior combatant and would win a 1v1 encounter.
By the time we get to the Titans number 29, the game has changed. Slade isn't fighting Robin or even Nightwing anymore. This is Dick Grayson accepting his destiny and becoming Batman. Dick shows up wearing the symbol of vengeance, and Slade has a lot to answer for. The destruction of Bloodhaven still hangs over everything, and more recently, Slade crossed a line by targeting Damian Wayne, Dick Grayson's Robin. So when the fight starts, Dick isn't fighting at his best. The Batsuit weighs him down, not just physically, but emotionally. He's never wanted to be Bruce, never wanted the legacy, the paranoia, the isolation, but now he's wearing the symbol anyway, because someone has to. And even under all that weight, Dick still proves that he's better. The beatdown he's putting on Slade forces Slade to use innocent bystanders as a distraction. And of course, Grayson leaves to save the people, continually proving that Slade can't do anything but tear things down, while Grayson can only build them up.
The two fight extremely relative, with neither showing a true advantage over the other. However, it's important to note that Nightwing fights Slade like an acrobat. His strategy, as noted by himself previously, is to keep his distance and take advantage of his agility. Slade even reinforces this notion during this fight. This notation becomes important as we have to take into account the giant elephant in the room. That being, Grayson is wearing the Batsuit, which, due to its cape's length and weight, it creates drag that Nightwing is not used to. This directly conflicts with his acrobatic and agile tactics he employs against Slade, which are the tactics he specifically uses against Deathstroke to overcome the physical disparity between the two, meaning that a weakened Nightwing is still fighting highly relative to Deathstroke, making Nightwing's superiority even more clear.
Finally, we reached their latest encounter. By Dark Crisis number 2, everything is on fire, literally and figuratively.
This was such an iconic cover. This was so cool. But my goodness, this fight was something else, man.
Same old phone?
Nice.
Upgrade to the new Galaxy Z Fold 7.
Damn.
We're here for our convertible.
How about an SUV?
The Justice League is gone. The Titans are under siege.
Yes.
And the remaining...
For those of you who don't know, Justice League appeared dead, gone. And so they were all like in mourning. And they all looked to Dick Grayson because he was the guy. He was the guy that was alongside Batman on a lot of Justice League missions. He was the guy that a lot of people turned to. From the, whether you were a Titan, whether you were a Justice League member, or whether you were a new hero, you went to this guy. They went to Nightwing. And so when they lost everyone from the Justice League, Dick had to take up the mantle as the head guy, the number one honcho. And the Titans did too. And I think currently they still are. I'm not sure. I haven't read any comics. I've been so busy lately. But I still believe the Titans are still the number one team in DC Comics right now. At least that's what the story's being told. And Nightwing is finally getting the love that he deserves. So, let's go.
Heroes are scattered, and Deathstroke has taken it upon himself to finish the job by leading a full-scale assault against the next generation, trying to snuff out the light before it can come back. In the middle of all this chaos is Nightwing. Slade has always known, if you want to break the heroes, you start by breaking him. Their fight is quick and brutal, but...
It is. Look at that shot. God, I'm sorry, man. I just loved the artwork. I love this. It just told so much of a story, so much aggression, so much pain. And it's the urgency of it all. Love this. Never mind you, and they didn't show this. Nightwing, is recovering from a bomb that exploded within Titans. He was in, I believe, in close proximity. Not to the point where, he got his limbs blown off, but still in the proximity where he still felt the effects of that bomb. And he beat Deathstroke gave him the stick, and they were like looking at his guys were looking at him like, you really want to do that? We could just kill him right now. I said, no. It's got to end like always, like between us. It's always got to go down. It's not going to be easy, and I don't want it easy. And so basically it gives Nightwing his stick, and then they go to blows. And then when he wins, that's when they have a hostage, of course, one of the other heroes. Let's see if they get into it.
Decisive. Dick beats Slade by proving once and for all that he's no longer a sidekick in
See, there they go.
But the foundation the
Grab
hero community stands on. But Slade's not here to just throw hands. He's got the entire remaining hero community hostage, held in place by a corrupted army. However, he gives Dick Grayson a way out. Slade promises not to hurt any other Titan if Dick gives up his life. Dick, of course, gives himself up and was...
That's so Dick Grayson. Look at that. Hold up. Look at that. He got his girl. Well, she's not his girl in this iteration. But for God's sakes, man, can we please get... I'm going to keep saying this. Can we please get Nightwing and Starfire back together? Because this shit with Barbara ain't hitting. To me, it ain't hitting. They need to stop. They're just putting him and her together because they want him so close to the Pat family. It is ridiculous. At least that's how they broke up Nightwing and Starfire over some BS crap, and they wanted the whole thing to happen with Starfire. I mean, with Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson getting together, and it's just, to me, they were like more like best friends, sort of co-workers, best friends type, to me. Or like brother, almost like brother and sister. In my viewpoint, that's how I always felt they were together. Nightwing and Starfire, they had everything. They had physical and emotional chemistry. They lifted each other both up. They made each other better. I just felt like they deserved it more. And so when they happened on the Titan show, I was very happy with that. Then obviously there was a brief detour with Dick and Barbara in season 3, which again I say season 3 was a total mess after starting off so hot. But like I said, they got all his peoples.
Army. However, he gives Dick Grayson a way out. Slade promises not to hurt any other Titan if Dick.
Then just get it over with, you old fuck. Oh shit, it don't matter. But let's see if they show what happens.
He gives up his life. Dick, of course, gives himself up and was prepared to die until Superboy came in and saved him. Once again, Nightwing proves to Slade that...
See, that's the thing right there. Boom. Again, like I say, people coming in to come in and save Dick because it's
not to hurt any other Titan if Dick gives up his life. Dick, of course, gives himself
because
up
of who
and was
he is.
prepared to die until Superboy came in and saves him. Once again...
Superboy. And at this part of the comics, for those who don't know, Superman and Lois have a kid. His name is it Connell or Jonell? I know his name's Jonathan. I think his name's Jonathan. And Nightwing had... Once he looked up to Nightwing because when he was a scared little boy, Nightwing went over there and just kind of talked to him calmly and was like the nice face and kind of looked at him as like an uncle in a way. And just trained, was there for him. Especially now he was training him and teaching him, and that's Superman left in his charge to teach his son was Nightwing. So he came in there and he went in there and saved his uncle, which is pretty freaking cool.
Again, Nightwing proves to Slade that his actions have made him an Atlas that others can rely on.
Yes.
And someone who others would save. While Deathstroke's actions have left him nothing but himself, surrounded by darkness.
This battle begins with Slade granting Nightwing his weapons, showing he wants to fight Nightwing as fair as possible. The two would exchange blows, and Nightwing eventually beats Deathstroke in this encounter, proving once and for all that he is superior. So blatantly that Deathstroke admits that he loses this round. There are also multiple external factors making this superiority so blatant. For example, Slade at this point in time had just been revived by the Lazarus Pit and got an amp from the darkness, which both make him superpowered in the words of DC Solicitations. Based off of how Slade's healing factor acts, he would have been healed additionally, making him stronger than he was prior to his injuries, in combination with the Lazarus Pit's ability to increase the physical prowess of those who bathe in its waters. The next compounding factor would be how Nightwing was weakened prior to this fight, as he had just been caught in an explosion that caused visible damage to him and knocked him out prior to the fight. His unconscious body
he was right there. Okay, so that's a little sus. How did he survive? Oh, look at that. He got it off of GoPro, but it still went off and
be dragged to the battlefield. Many tried to dismiss this fight as Slade's intentions seem questionable. However, if we look at Slade's actions and statements holistically throughout Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths and his prior interactions with characters, we can see that this is a poor debunk. Slade makes it clear immediately that he comes to kill Legacy. Legacy would be the Titans, as they are the next generation of heroes. He further explains what this means by going over how the most impactful actions on the Titans would be to kill their hope, in reference to the prodigal son. As Nightwing points out, he could just kill all the Titans as they are vulnerable in recovering from the explosion, but he chooses to play games by destroying their hope, which would be killing Nightwing. This is why Donna and Nightwing later speak of Slade's intentions to toy with the Titans, as his goal was to mentally toy with them and make them suffer by destroying their source of hope, their prodigal son, the leader of the next generation.
Donna is his best friend. Wonder Girl, coming from Wonder Woman. That's his best friend. He considers her a sister. Before he actually had a sister, an actual sister, blood sister. But yeah, man, like I said, man, the OG Titans, they're like super close. Like if I was to say the big three, if we're going to go with OGs, it would be Nightwing, the Flash, Wally West version, and Donna Troy, Wonder Girl, or Troya. But if we're going right now in the totality of it all, I would say it's Nightwing, Starfire, and Donna Troy.
The one who carries the legacy, Dick Grayson. Pariah even tries to step in and tell Slade, as his goal was to mentally toy with them and make them suffer by destroying their source of hope, their prodigal son, the leader of the next generation, the one who carries the legacy, Dick Grayson. Pariah even tries to step in and tell Slade not to kill the Titans, which only reinforces Slade's true intentions of killing Nightwing. Some make the argument that Slade was being controlled by the darkness, which would mean he's mentally compromised and nerfed in this fight. This supposed debunk actually has more direct evidence for the contrary than for this claim. Pariah is actively telling Slade to not stray from the mission whenever he contacts him, showing that he does not have control over Slade and that Slade is disobeying the orders given out of his free will. This shows that the connection between the two is more equivalent to an angry boss calling you over the phone rather than someone mind controlling you and puppeteering your every move. So yes, this encounter is completely valid and shows that Nightwing is the superior combatant. Arguments about Slade's willingness to kill Nightwing have always been present. However, there are multiple examples of Slade explicitly showcasing his willingness to kill Nightwing. Some argue that Slade won't kill unless he's paid to do so, but it's clear that he makes exceptions. Batman is one of these exceptions, and with all of the context of the hatred they have towards each other, and in some cases explicit statements of Slade willing to kill Nightwing, it's easy to assert that Slade makes an exception for Nightwing as well. Deathstroke even has a Lazarus contract on the Titans, so the argument can be made that he has a contract for Nightwing, therefore he can kill him and receive payment at any time. But based on what we've shown, we'll leave it up to you guys to determine whether or not you think that's valid.
At its core, Deathstroke and Nightwing's rivalry has always been about what they represent. Slade Wilson's a man who refuses to grow, a soldier who lost everything and never stopped blaming everyone else. He sees the world in targets, weaknesses, and leverage, and no matter how many people he hurts, his children, the Titans, entire cities, he never looks in the mirror and takes accountability. And then you have Dick Grayson, a man who carries guilt that was never his, who watches the people around him fall and chooses to stand anyway. That's why Slade hates him. That's why Slade needs to beat him. Because Dick is proof that you can survive tragedy without turning cold. One defined by blame, and the other is defined by responsibility. And that's why these two are such perfect rivals. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really sorry for the hiatus.
They're just a perfect combo, man. Nightwing versus Deathstroke. That's just so... Like, we saw it in live action, and it was so good, man. It was so good. We had it twice in animation. 3 times if you want to count Teen Titans Go. I don't. But we've seen it. And we could have had it in Young Justice, but for the love of God, Young Justice, man. Young Justice was one of those shows to me that was top tier in season 1 and 2. But I just think that the time jumps and this need to bring in new characters every single season is ridiculous. Don't do that. They should have focused more on 1 and 2. No, like 1 and 2. Like, you brought us some new people in 2, fine. But it should have stayed on the 3 on the main characters. And then 4, you could see in the 4 you could have had them kind of go off like a little bit, start falling away like some of them, because life happens and things happen, lifestyle changes, whatever have you. But you still should have really made a more of an emphasis on the OG characters of Young Justice, which for those of you who don't know was like the Teen Titans, but I thought they were way cooler. So yeah, for me, I felt like this was perfect. So for me, I feel like that this rivalry deserves to be shown on the big screen or on the small screen, however we can get it, but it's got to be live action. You've got to pick the right people to play it. I still feel like Isai Morales, who played in La Bamba, Richie Valens' brother. I'm blanking on the name right now, but yeah, Isai was so freaking perfect as Deathstroke on the Titan show. I think he could still play it. But either way, You can't go with Brenton Thwaites from the Titans show because he's too old to play Nightwing now in the DC universe where it's constructed, because Superman's 33 and you can't have Nightwing being 33 as well. He's got to be older. I mean, younger. Way younger. Like 23, 26, I would say, in my viewpoint. Between the ages of 22 and 26, I'll say that. But anyways, that's another story. Another story for another time. But now this rivalry deserves more love. And again, in the current comic situation, from what I've heard, is Deathstroke again is coming after Nightwing and the Titans. This time he's getting a whole team together, Terra again. And they're gonna go after the Titans. So this is gonna be pretty good. But like I said, this right here, this rivalry needs to be more. It needs to be explored more in popular media outside of the comic book, because comic book got some god tier fights with Nightwing and Deathstroke. So much history in each and every punch and kick, every shot, every movement. It all matters, and you can see it when the artist draws it or when the dialogue is there. It's just... So for me, it definitely deserves more love than it gets. And hopefully with James Gunn and the new era in DC, I'm really hoping that we get that for these two characters. To get that rivalry, Deathstroke already gets, he needs more live action, because we had two live actions, one of the Titans and one in the Justice League, but that was more of a cameo, a tease, but I don't think that's coming to fruition. Joe Manganiello, I believe that's his name, not going to most likely play Deathstroke, because whatever. But like I said, this is the most slept on rivalry in all of comics, and it needs more love. Thank you guys for watching. For any of you that watches comics, who watches comic book movies, TV shows, or reads the comics, let me know, who do you think is the more slept on? Do you agree with my sentiment that Nightwing and Deathstroke are the most slept on rivalry in all of comics? If not, let me know in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you giving me some of your time. Listen to me ramble and react to this. I plan on doing a lot more comic book stuff on here. So, we'll get into that. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have a great day. Please be safe out there.